Seattle Republican Governor Bobby Jindal. He is with us tonight just hours after delivering an important endorsement in this race. You, Governor, welcome. Decided Rick Perry, your neighboring governor, you believe among those 8 Republicans we're going to see tonight, he's the best nominee and the best president. Why?
That's exactly right. Thank you for having me. You look at the record, what he's done in Texas. This election, I believe, is about the jobs, about the economy. We've got a president, we've got President Obama, who believes we're going to tax, borrow, spend our way into prosperity. Rick Perry understands he has held that line on taxes, he's cut regulations. Texas in the last 2 years has been responsible for over 40%, almost half of the new jobs created in America. You've seen under Governor Perry's leadership, they've cut spending, first governor in decades to actually cut general revenue spending in Texas. He understands we can't borrow away. He understands the seriousness of the $14 trillion debt. One fundamental lesson that apparently President Obama hasn't learned is that government doesn't create jobs. When government spends money, it costs taxpayers money. Governor Rick Perry understands that when the private sector creates jobs, that's good for the American taxpayers.
You served in the Congress before you became governor. You understand Social Security, often considered the third rail of American politics. You've watched the debate play out in recent days. You just heard the conversation we had in the last segment about this. Is Governor Perry vulnerable, especially to a general election audience, for having the view that in his Social Security is essentially unconstitutional? It shouldn't be there.
Look, it'll be demagogued, it'll be attacked, but let's be clear. Look at Social Security today. Certainly, when you look at it, last year, for the first time since the early 1980s, they paid more than they took out. By the time I reach retirement age, the trust fund will be gone. There was a survey in the 90s that showed young people are more likely to believe in UFOs than that Social Security would be there for them. What Rick Perry has had the courage to say is, let's protect it for those that are retiring, about to retire, but then let's fix it for the younger generations. You know what? Anytime anybody has the courage to say this, whether it's Rick Perry or Paul Ryan, they're going to get attacked. The safe thing for him to do would have been to duck and to avoid it. He hasn't done that. He has shown real leadership. That is one of the reasons I think he's going to not just promise hope, but deliver real jobs for Americans. That's why I think he is the best candidate to be president. Voters want candidates that are going to be honest with them, leaders that are going to tell them the truth, not just tell us what we want to hear. I applaud him for having the courage to lead and be honest. Look the American people in the eye and say, if we don't make serious changes, Social Security will not be there for our children and grandchildren unless we take action today.
He has skyrocketed, as you know, to the top of the Republican field. This is his second debate, so we'll see if it lasts. You've been in politics a long time. You know you can get an early lead in a race and watch it go away. The woman who was making a lot of strides in the race, who has stalled some in part because of Governor Perry's entrance, is the Minnesota Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann. I was asking her last week if she was worried, if she thought she was going to sputter now that Governor Perry had taken a lot of her momentum. I want you to listen to this interesting analogy from the Congresswoman.
Don't forget, in the last election cycle, Fred Thompson jumped in late in the race. He was polling at about 31%. Rudy Giuliani jumped in late. He was polling at about 35%. This isn't unusual. Campaigns aren't settled just in a day. This is a marathon, and we're very pleased. And by the way, with our campaign is doing very well.
That's a fair historical point. If you look at if you go back and look here, September 2007, Rudy Giuliani leading the Republican field with 28%. Fred Thompson, 27%. John McCain, the ultimate nominee, in third place at that moment in time. Might she have a point? Might your Governor Perry, be a flash in the pan?
Well, two things. You go back, you remember at the time everybody thought Senator Clinton was the odds-on favorite to be the nominee. The reason I'm endorsing Rick has nothing to do with polls. It's the fact that he's been governor for nearly 11 years of Texas. During that time, they've displaced New York as the second largest economy in the country. During that time, you've seen per capita income has increased from last year to this year. At a time when the president's offering his talk and promises, Rick Perry's creating jobs. And so, for me, it's not about polls. You know, Governor Perry's not the kind of guy that sticks his finger out in the wind and sees which way the polls are going. It really is about executive experience and leadership. We elected a president, President Obama, who gives great speeches. Had never run anything before in his life until he was elected president of the United States. It clearly has been overwhelmed by these economic challenges. In Rick Perry, you've got a man with executive experience, been governor of a very large state with a very complex economy, has done a great job fighting efforts to raise taxes, cut through regulations, creating jobs. I think he's got lasting power, not because of the polls, not because of the temporary attention, but rather because of his track record, because of his executive experience. That's what the American people are looking for.
Let's step back.